Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Hold on to the edge of your seats because you are in for quite the ride. It's time for the Granada Forum Radio Show. Right now, live on air with your host, Granada, Wendy.
Hey, welcome to the Granada Forum Radio program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Revolution Radio, and we are at freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com. And revolution.radio. That's revolution.radio. You now can get us on. Today is I believe, the 21st of September. Boy, September's gone very, 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 very fast. And we got, by the way, next week, Deborah Tavares is supposed to be on tonight, but she's postponed it, and she'll be back with us next week for a barn-burning, spectacular show. And I just want to you can check out her website at www.stopthecrime.net. That's www.stopthecrime.net. And you go to YouTube, check out Coastal Lines Under Attack. That's Coastal Lines Under Attack. Is whether, though she was just on a day or so ago, with the STG report, and check out Weather Water Weapons, and check them out, and check her out at www.stopthecrime.net, stopthecrime.com. Okay, and that's www.stopthecrime.com, and also too, so check that out. And for Deborah Tavares, we can't say enough about her. Coastlines Under Attack and Weather Weapons. Check out Weather Weapons as well. So check out all her videos and stuff on YouTube, and go to www.stopthecrime.com. Is it .com or .net? But check out both.
No, I think it's .net.
.net, excuse me.
Yeah,
.net.
if you go to stopthecrime.com,
yeah,
it takes you to this site called Burglar Bomb.
Oh, my God. Okay, www.stopthecrime.net. That's www.stopthecrime.net, not no burglar bomb. Okay, sorry about that, Deb. Oh, my God. So that's www.stopthecrime.net, N-E-T. Yeah, but Coastal Lines Under Attack and Weather Water Weapons. She did a thing on SGT, which we're going to talk about tonight a little bit, too. We got so next week will be Deborah Tavares, who will be the barn burner, and she'll have lots to talk about. And that will be great. So that's Deborah Tavares at www.stopthecrime.net. Okay, great. Also, too, we're going to do a roundtable tonight, me, Nick, and Bob. I'm going to give out a few websites, and we're going to talk about, do a few announcements, so real fast, but we'll give out a bunch of websites and talk about some good stuff. We want to say hello to Marv, who's one of our health reporters down at the Town and Country Resort for the Life Extension, which is rad, and that's this weekend, and we're very, very grateful for them. And Marv is down there talking to a bunch of doctors and different health products to better people, and he's representing the Granada Forum. So Marv, we want to thank you, and thank Life Extension and RAD for giving us opportunity to go down there, and that's at the Town and Country Resort for Life Extension and the conference of RAD. So we want to thank them so much for this. Okay, cool. Also, too, the National Health Solution Expo, December 15th and 16th, 2018, at the LAX Marriott. That's 5855 West Century Boulevard, Los Angeles 90045. For more information, call 562-212-3479. That's 562-212-3479. 562-212-3479, or go to www.healthsolutionsexpo.com. That's www.healthsolutionsexpo.com. And you go right on the website. That will be the 15th and 16th December and January. We'll be there live the Friday night, but then we're also filming it. So it's going to be a lot of fun for us on the 15th, 16th, on Saturday and Sunday. We hope to see you there. If you get a flyer, you'll save $5 off. Go to the nationalhealthsolutionsexpo.com. It's probably on their website as well. Good people running that. Okay. Looking forward to that one. Also, too, the 46th Annual Cancer Control. It was a real barn burner. We had a great time, Granada Forum crew, and us, me and Nick, Friday night, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We were incredible, had so much fun. Go to www.cancercontrolsociety.com. That's www.cancercontrolsociety.com. Their phone number is 323-663-7801. That's 323-663-7801. That's their phone number. Again, their website is www.cancercontrolsociety.com, and that's for all the alternative therapies to cancer. And it's gonna be have a lot of fun with them. You get books and tapes from all the speakers, and check them out if you have any problems. Please do. They're really good people, and we can't say enough about them. Good stuff there. Okay, and so we'll give a few websites as well, just for kicks. We'll get our show off the ground. I definitely recommend George Webb because he's a good guy. Go to georgewebb.com. Infowars.com. That's Infowars.com. Check out Alex. Always good stuff. Definitely for breaking news. Alex is good for breaking news. Though I hear they're giving Alex some trouble on PayPal, so we're sorry to hear that for Infowars. We hope they can find some solution to that. But George Webb is always great. Jason Goodman, crowdsourcethetruth.com. That's crowdsourcethetruth.com. Always a good one. Carrie Cassidy for ProjectCamelot.org. That's ProjectCamelot.org. Always check out Carrie's stuff. Good stuff there. Rebecca Roth is BehindTheGalleyCurtain.com. I believe BehindTheGalleyCurtain.com. That's always a good one too. How did you say the SGT report? Is that what they call it?
Yes.
Nick?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, STG report. You go to ST and then a G report.
No, SG. SG.
Oh, SG.
Yeah, SGT like sergeant.
Okay, SGT report. Okay, that's SGT report. Okay, got that now. SGT like sergeant. Okay, got that in my head. Okay, check them out. Good stuff there always. Another guy named, what's one of the other guys we check out too?
Jordan Sather.
There you go.
Sather.
Yeah, give us website.
Yeah, well, all you have to do is go to YouTube and go to Destroying the Illusion, and you'll see all his videos. So
it's a Jason Sater, and then there's another guy named Belfour. He's a pretty interesting cat too.
No, you're talking about not Belfort. It's let me see. I'll get to it. Continue, and I'll get it.
All right. And also too, what else is another good one that people can check out? A lot of fun.
Truth in Art TV is very good.
Yeah, Truth in Art TV. There you go. Truth in Art TV.
Yeah, Dr. Bernie Suarez. A wonderful synopsis of all the QAnon revelations.
Oh, that's good.
Very,
people should
very
go
good.
Check that out. Good stuff there. Also, too, Jeff Rentz has got a great website, jeffrentz.com. That's rentz.com. Good stuff on Jeff Rentz's program, too. Also, too, Stephen E. Kelly. He's got an interesting show, to say the least. That's Stephen E. Kelly out there. Got kind of crazy stuff. And that's always good stuff. And also, too, the guy that used to, besides Sean, I don't know if Sean's website's still open, but Sean David Morton. But what's the other guy that I used to listen to Thursdays and Saturday nights? Douglas Dietrich. Check out his website, Douglas Dietrich. Always good website, good information from Doug. Always good stuff there. You can't go wrong there. Douglas Dietrich. What's that UFO one we always go to?
The MUFON?
Secure Team. SecureTeam.com. They got good stuff. They got kind of interesting stuff too. Secure Team. Nice guy that runs that one. SecureTeam.com. Also, too, my good buddy John. His is, believe it or not, John's is what is John's?
You talking about the LA Skywatch?
No, but LASkywatch.org is great, of course, for the chemtrails. That's LASkywatch.org. And I'm supposed to get a phone number for Helena. She spoke last Sunday in Calabasas. We're going to try to get her on.
Right.
And Dave Wingington is at www.geoengineeringwatch.org. That's good stuff. So, no, it's the I'm thinking of my buddy John. I can't think of his website at this. Drawing a blank. I blew on at that one. But
sorry, John.
That happened. Sorry, John. It's just drawn a blank on yours.
Sound off John W. Spring at Outlook.com.
Okay, well, that's another job. They go to that one. Okay, Nick, do you have one or two you want to give out, or Bob?
Yeah, a couple. JBS.org I think is always pretty good.
Okay.
They just did a huge article on censorship in America, and the cover for the magazine New American was Alex Jones, actually.
Right.
So that's a big deal. So I always like that. And don't forget also gunownersofamerica.org. Larry Pratt's organization, which is far and above the NRA. Not to crap on the NRA too much, but yeah, I'm going to anyway. But GOA is much better.
That was Benjamin.
What's that?
I was going to go. That gentleman who's got a great website is Benjamin Fulford, F-U-L.
Benjamin Fulford, that's what I'm talking. Yeah, Benjamin Fulford. There you go.
He has unbelievable information on YouTube. All you have to do is go to Benjamin Fulford, and there's all kinds of. When you listen to it, he looks at it from the global. Now he lives in Japan, and he talks about how the Japan war crime families that are huge, okay? They've got a lot of gold still, the Japanese. And I understand the Rothschilds and Rockefellers were begging them recently for more money to keep the banking system afloat, and they said no. So you're going to get another...
I can't imagine the Rothschilds begging anybody for anything at this point.
Well, yeah, they have, what do you call it? I guess I'm not sure which faction it is. The black dragon or the white dragon or the yellow sun, but one of them has totally rejected the New World Order's banking schemes. So there's going to be another, pretty soon. It's going to be what happened 10 years ago in 2000.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been coming. Anybody who knows anything about the ups and downs of the banking system, especially after 2008. You just pay attention to what Ron Paul was telling us years ago, and what G. Edward Griffin has been telling us, and Bill Still with his documentaries have been telling us, and a lot of these other economists like the Mises Institute and people who are associated with them, Hayek and a lot of them, those economists and everything, and you watch the way the banking system is supposed to work, and then read how the 1913 Federal Reserve Act was written and has been amended over the years. Well, it's going to save the economy from the ups and downs of inflation and deflation, and the system. And all it has been doing is been used as a mechanism to cause it, to get people lulled into a false sense of security. Get them to invest all their money and then steal their money from them.
Well, the cashless society, most people are using plastic and online. There are people that go in and do, cash.
That's me. I'm a cash kid, because if I don't have the money, I don't buy it. There you go.
But you have the money that's hooked up to your debit card or your checking account. It's all the same, whether you take out money and pay somebody in cash. But a lot of people, a lot of people don't always have a bank account now. I mean, it's not that they don't have a debit card; they pay on it so they can buy it if they have to order stuff. But I know a lot of people are paying cash because it's just to keep your bills in check.
Yeah, believe me, credit card will take you down a rabbit hole if you get too far used to that thing. It will suck the life out of you. Yeah, but the debit card, I've been using it. It's been wonderful when you go online and it's just a couple of clicks. But what the banking system loves about it is that they don't have to pay for tellers of exchanging all this money and counting it. Have you been to the bank lately? Oh, they're getting rid of a lot of employees. They're doing kiosks now. The same thing like McDonald's was doing. It's automated teller systems. So you mean you go to that Bank of America over in North Hollywood? There's one, not just the ATM machines where you can do banking transactions anyway. There's like I think there's 4 automated teller systems that are there also. And so they got 16 windows where there's supposed to be live people in, and there's maybe 2 or 3 of them open, and the rest of them are automated tellers.
Well, when you go to Las Vegas and you play the machine with the virtual dealer, hey, welcome, sit down, enjoy yourself. How much you want to bet?
I don't know. I haven't stopped in Las Vegas for a long time. I can't stand casinos.
Everything is becoming virtual. Now, with the new iPhone, I saw the demonstration that Apple put out, and they have this game where if you get the new iPhone and you have 2 other friends around and you want to play the game, they actually, all of you see the object the same way, and you walk around each other and around the object to,
I have no idea.
To play. It's kind of like the Pokemon. It's kind of like
I'm so glad I don't have a cell phone, especially an Apple phone. I just don't get caught up in any of that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't play any of the games, and the virtual reality is very dangerous. People don't believe me. There was a great movie in the 90s with James Wood called Videodrome, and if you don't believe me, go watch that. And that was really a precursor to what they have now. I mean, the technology they have now is beyond words. So when you put that stuff over your eyes, you have no idea what's going in your head.
Well, look at all these idiots who don't even have to put the stuff over their eyes. They're chasing Pokemon figures all over the place, and they're walking into traffic and getting hit by cars.
What was that game a year ago where people were going into people's backyards and they weren't getting anything out of it, but they were
that's Pokemon Go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the people were walking into buildings. They were walking into traffic and getting hit by cars. They were walking into situations where they just. Yeah. I mean, they had one. I remember that one video that I saw on YouTube, and I don't know if she was playing Pokemon or what, but some lady had her head so buried into her phone she didn't see the open elevator doors on the sidewalk, and she walked and fell right over the top of them.
Listen, last week I went to a high school football game.
Yeah.
And the gentleman in front of me, he must have been 50. He was a father watching the game. He wasn't even watching the game. He was looking at his iPhone playing some kind of airline game, and he's tilting his phone, and the daughter goes, "Hey, Dad, how you doing on the game?" It's like amazing what's happening.
Yeah, people are there, but they're not even there anymore.
Well, they're getting us ready for the next, transhumanism. Weren't you talking about something about transhumanism?
Well, quite a few people are talking about transhumanism. I know Deborah Tavar mentions it. We've been mentioning transhumanism for years. Dr. Stanley Monteith mentioned transhumanism over 10 years ago. Transhumanism has come to the forefront now on a lot of levels, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Yeah, and absolutely. They're finding that the people who are so into their phones and these little virtual games and all that, their actual intelligence level, not maybe that they don't know some stuff, but their IQ levels are starting to drop.
Oh yeah.
Because they're not in their younger years, because parents will buy their kids phones as soon as they start screaming about it.
Right. Oh no.
They find out that the kids are not forming in their brains the connections that they need to actually function at a higher IQ level. They're getting dumber.
They dumber, but they know how to maneuver. But now I got to tell you, in defense of my iPhone, which I love, I have a library on audiobooks and on Kindle, and that's where I do my research in the middle of the night. Yes, my sleep patterns are not healthy, but you know what? Nobody's informed more than I on what's going on. I go right to it. I'm on it like 18 hours a day.
Well, let's talk about some of that, guys.
Outlet.
Let's talk about some of the information. Let's start with George Webb. What did George Webb talk about this week? What was some of his main stuff?
Listen, he has what you need when you go and watch George Webb's over 3,000 videos now. He was way ahead.
Yeah. Between the Awan brothers and some of the connections to Washington, he really cleaned up the homework. He really did it.
But people don't even know. And the fact that our judicial system let him go is a travesty in justice. Now, there's a new kid from New York that's on, and he did an interview with Marcus Conte, I think is his name. He's got glasses, and he walks all over New York. He does the same kind of thing that George does. He goes and walks and gets out in the neighborhood, and it's like George Webb talks about H.A. Goodman, who is good, but H.A. Goodman is in his basement all the time. George Webb has been all over the place. He went to the Awan Brothers rental where they found all the servers in a closet with the renter that, said that he comes once a month and he takes a bunch of discs and he downloads everything and then gets the heck out of there. Okay? And then he sends everything back to Pakistan. He is the father of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's daughter. Okay? He admits, he goes, I love Bill Clinton when he visits. We have hookah. We have hookah together. Not hookah. He, in that 15-minute interview, George Webb was so envious that Marcus Conte got to have the interview with him. And the only reason why he got the interview was Imran Awan got in contact with him because Imran Awan had a great interview. I should say Marcus Conte had a great interview with George Webb. He actually accused or questioned George Webb about Jenny Moore, which was task force, who died recently. We don't know.
She was murdered. She was murdered, though, right?
She was probably murdered. She was murdered because she went to about child pedophilia and child trafficking. I forgot which politician it was that she went to, but 4 days later she was dead.
And she was also go ahead, Bob.
No, go ahead.
Well, there was also mentioning about all the boats, the ships that are off, 10 or 8 miles off the coast?
Yeah, no, 12.
12?
Anything over 12 miles, the Coast Guard will not investigate. It's supposedly it's international waters, okay? Now, they have had, the elites have these yachts, these big ships that actually are involved in trafficking. The rat lines, which of course is drugs, weapons, organs, whatever. And what happens is, of course, the people that are manning the ship, they don't want to do the cooking and the cleaning. So they get these kids.
Yeah.
And
Ted
they
Gunderson,
disappear them.
Ted Gunderson was talking about this years ago.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Ted was a great guy, and let me tell you something, Ted was a hero, spoke many times at the Granada Forum in person. You can go to Granada Forum. Hopefully, hopefully I'll find some stuff. We'll be able to put some stuff on Ted.
Yeah, there's some videos of Ted Gunderson speaking at the old Granada Forum when it was a live show. So they're up there.
It's unbelievable. Ted Gunderson was a wonderful gentleman. He was a man who wanted to help people, and when he found out after he retired about what was really going on in a lot of senses on some certain subject matters, he exposed it because he just said this is just wrong. And he's a good guy. Wonderful man.
So getting back to it,
sorry.
You know, the George Webb exposes all these major, or not all of them, but many major universities are CIA recruiting platforms. And they look for certain kind of personality traits. And many times these people, these college kids that are, you know, on their own, they disappear. They disappear. And they go on, because not only do they cook and clean in the daytime, then they're used as sex slaves at night, you know. So, I mean, this is what's going on. And the same thing, no one talks about Jeffrey Epstein's island that he had. I mean, it is so ridiculous what's happening right now with Kavanaugh and that accuser. It's like one of Broderick, one of the ones that Juanita Broderick. She goes, wait a minute, why can't I have a FBI investigation on Bill Clinton?
Right.
I mean, this is the most ridiculous
and you know they would never do it. I mean, look at Hillary's reaction to the whole thing when she's coming out now saying that that this woman who is accusing Kavanaugh of doing this stuff 30 years ago or 40 years ago. She's saying she must be believed. You know, women who make these accusations must be believed. And it's like, look at the way you treated, let's say, Juanita Broderick, Paula Jones, Jennifer Flowers, and there was a couple others who were a little bit less notorious, but you know they deserve. Names escape me right off the top of my head, but Hillary Clinton ran them over and basically said, you know, they're lying and they're not credible and all this, you know, the rest of it because she wanted to save her husband's career. And so, you know, it's, you know, the whole leftist agenda when it comes to things like this it's so transparent, it's stupid. You know, there's no, she's demanding an FBI investigation over something that the FBI doesn't have any jurisdiction over, number one. And number two, the statute of limitations have run out. They can't have an investigation.
Right. And anyways, apparently the house that this thing took place, there is he's not related to him, but these two guys in high school, Kavanaugh and this other kid who hosted the party, looked very, very similar. Okay? And it's like they said, you know, the kid who is at home hosting the party and knows everything, knows his bedroom, he could have been the one.
Well, yeah.
Now,
especially if it was his house. Especially if it was his house.
How is she going to prove it was Kavanaugh instead of the kid?
That whole thing
it's a waste of
crazy.
time. Just put them in. Now, I got to say something. Why don't you, this is off the record, everybody. Tell your mom that SC is on right now. They're playing a Friday night game against Washington State at 7:30.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you don't want her to miss the action and tune it in tomorrow with something else going on. Anyways, the other thing I do want to talk about is, like I said, both Jordan Sather of Destroying the Illusion and Bernie Suarez of Truth and Art TV both do wonderful synopsis of QAnon revelations. And I've noticed Trump point at people wearing Q shirts. And I just realized they told me, watch some of his hand signals. He makes with, he takes his hands and he each one goes in a semicircle, and when they meet at the bottom, he goes down, which outlines the letter Q. So it's a real deal. It's definitely a real deal. And the other day was amazing because apparently QAnon kind of like confirmed, yes, there is alien life out there. So that was a big thing.
He mentioned that yesterday?
A couple of days ago. And Jordan Sather, that's one of his that's the latest as of this moment. that'll be the one that he did yesterday. I guess he did it. It happened. Okay, I saw him Tuesday night at UPARS in L.A. Wednesday night, he spoke at
the Orange County MUFON. Yeah, gotcha.
The Orange County MUFON. And right before he was having dinner, all of a sudden, his phone started. He's getting messages from people going, "Hey, did you hear about what Q said?" And he confirmed that there is, intelligent life out there.
Of course.
Well, yeah, but it's.
But the fact that Q said it, that's a good thing.
Reason. Okay, now this is the reason why I think Trump wants to do that Space Force, because he's done investigations on budgets, and when there's trillions of dollars missing in the military budget, he's asked where it went, and it's gone to the secret space program. Okay, that's what we spent a lot of money on, secret space program, and that's why they're doing the Space Force. It's kind of like it's going to bridge, and I don't know if the breakaway civilization has the means, or do they communicate with those back on Earth now, reporting back with what they found? I don't know. I mean, that's what I'd be curious about. Because apparently we're in, I think 40 different planetoids around our galaxy. So, I mean, I don't know if that's science fiction or if that's fact or what.
Well, they are on Saturn, they are on Mars, they're on the Moon. So, I mean, hey, there's stuff going on up there.
Well, Elon Musk.
They haven't spent trillions of dollars in space because there's nothing there.
Well, yeah, we know. In 1940, Roswell, there definitely was a crash, and we've been reverse engineering that craft, which gives us the telephone and all the stuff that has.
Yeah, and that's why we had David Adair on, and we've got to get David back because he's a good guy.
Yeah, but I was just saying,
yeah,
it's just really wonderful, these people on YouTube. Because, once you go, it's not just one. You look at all the different numerous, episodes that they've recorded. And if you go back, I went back to Benjamin Fulford, back to 2008, and, you could tell how good someone is, 10 years later when you hear the information to see how much insight they really had. So it's a fantastic thing, this YouTube.
Oh yeah,
and the internet.
Go back and listen to even a lot of Bill Cooper's stuff.
Oh boy!
And you apply it to everything that happened between then and now, and it's just like, oh my God, the guy actually knew this stuff. He was so far ahead of everybody, though nobody would believe him.
Right. Right, because he had a, I guess, some kind of, just like George Webb. It doesn't just come to him in dreams. He's got to have some kind of different intelligence agencies keeping him abreast of the latest.
Right.
It's just, he comes up with new people all the time. You have to have a scoreboard, a scorecard when you do it, and you got to take the names down. And kind of see where they all fit together.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things with George Webb that when I have the opportunity to try to keep up with the guy, I can barely even figure out what the guy's talking about half the time because he's moving so fast. Because I have other stuff to do too. I can't be on the internet all the time. I've got other stuff to do. So every time I do get a chance to get on to see George Webb, it's like, well, okay, what the hell are you talking about now? I mean, you got to have like a chart with all the names and stuff on it and what they're talking about in order to even figure out what's going on.
He did have a Trello board. He did have a Trello board.
Yeah.
And I think they wiped it out.
Right.
Before his I don't know when his trial's coming up.
I mean, you got to be like somebody who's betting, a hardcore gambler betting on sports teams, and you got to have the book that's got every statistic in it for every team for whatever sport you're betting on. So that's how you got to keep up with George Webb.
But you know, his reports in the morning, generally he uses charts and photographs.
Right.
Okay, it's only in the afternoon and evening when he's out where, you know, he takes out his phone and takes photographs himself or talks to different people. But, you know, that's real investigation. It's unlike the parrots that are on all the mainstream media. They get talking points, and they're just like parrots.
Mainstream media.
Same thing.
I don't care where you work at in mainstream media. None of that is investigative reporting.
No.
That is something that David Icke called repeating, not reporting. You're repeating because all those people who are work for mainstream media, whether they're anchor behind a desk or somebody standing out in the field saying, "Hey, guess what I found out about?" You didn't find out anything. You had a dossier or some kind of report that was handed to you, and you were told to read from that verbatim. So you can't believe any. You want to see investigative reporting? You go look at George Webb, Jason Goodman, Dan Dix, Luke Radowski. You look at some of the guys who go
Mark
out
Dice,
into the
Mark
field
Dice
for
is good
InfoWars.
too.
Yeah.
All
Dice.
these guys who are out there doing alternative media, that's investigative reporting.
And who's the other
Because
guy
they're
on
getting
InfoWars too, real quick? Joseph Paul Watson. He's another guy that he sinks his teeth into a few things too.
Yeah, Owen Schreier.
Owen Schreier.
He's starting to come up, yeah?
He's really coming into his own.
Yeah,
there you go.
He's not the scared, new Alex Jones reporter.
And look at you got to throw Tommy Robinson in there a little bit too, because he was in there reporting on a bunch of stuff. Then he got put in jail for it.
There you go.
Right.
Absolutely.
But
agree.
And what's happening with Julian Assange? He was like very responsible for a lot of stuff, and I mean he's still at the Ecuadorian embassy, kind of cooped up, and they say his health isn't that good. Anybody who's indoors for 5 years or so, he goes out to the balcony.
They'll arrest him and stick him in, send him back. They'll extradite him to the United States for committing a crime that wasn't really a crime.
Yeah, but now he's got a president that'll fight for him, I think.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, we got a president who still will go after Edward Snowden too. And even Ron Paul said Edward Snowden didn't give information to the enemy. He gave it to the American people. So what does that tell you about what the government thinks of the American people?
Oh, shit. Excuse my language. It's just very, very, very scary.
Yeah.
Just like
this is how deep this stuff got before people started paying attention to it. I mean, we are so far down, trying to climb our way back out is going to be a monumental task. I mean, look at the stuff. Look at the stuff that James O'Keefe got on video just this week.
Yeah.
There's
going to be more coming out. There's going to be more coming out. He just started.
Yeah, and he's got people on his videos, federal employees inside the White House and inside these big federal agencies saying, "We're here to stop everything. We're here to slow it down." And he had the last one I saw. The guy said, "We're here to destroy capitalism." Well, who are the people who want to destroy capitalism? Well, they're called communists. These are the people that Joseph McCarthy was warning us about all those years ago. And here they are bragging about it now. So
yeah, that's right.
And Antifa running around pretending that they're anti-fascists when they're really not. Because they're all being funded by these multinational gazillionaires like George Soros and everything. You got the Pound Me Too movement that's running around pretending that they give a rat's ass about women and what's wrong with them. Oh, which, by the way, because I was talking to you earlier about it, I just got to toss this in there. Doing going through some documents today to put up on a video that's going to be up on our YouTube channel soon. I was going through the Agenda 21 conference that happened down in Rio back in 1992, and there was an entire section about empowering women and everything that went along with it. And you've read through that section, everything that you're seeing right now with the Pound Me Too movement, with all these women standing up and pretending that they're feminists and wearing their pink pussy hats, running around in the damn street and screaming and hollering about women's rights and all that was Agenda 21. That was envisioned years ago to make this stuff happen. This isn't even like the 60s feminist movement. This is Agenda 21 that's getting implemented. It went on through the years, but it came to a real head when Donald Trump got elected. And so I have a feeling that all these plans that you're seeing, all these people running around the street screaming their heads off like a bunch of morons, that it's all Agenda 21. And, Agenda 21 isn't just the stack and packs and moving people into urban areas and controlling transportation and buying up all the rural areas and rewilding all the rural areas. I mean, that's all part of it. But this part actually caught me off guard because I really wasn't expecting to find it in there. And there it was in black and white with the Rio conference, the Dublin conference, this other book that was written that escapes me right now, but it's all in there. They were all repeating the same stuff with each of these different conferences because it all came down from the United Nations. And it's like, okay, so everything you're seeing now has been in place and getting ready to be implemented for over 30 years now.
And when did the Georgia Guidestones? When were they?
I think weren't those put up in like the
right
90s?
After. Right, probably right after. Yeah, they wanted to make their point.
Yeah.
In 8 languages or something like that.
Yeah, basically saying that they're going to kill off 95% of the.
Well, no, the Earth only could support 500 million. So if we're 7.5, that's
95% of the population to be exterminated.
Yeah, but you could understand their point of view. There's too many people to take care of, and we're useless feeders, and we make pollution. I have my robot. Don't have their robot. As long as they have people to serve them, and their AI, they're not going to need us.
Yeah, they're getting their sex bots. Those are getting developed pretty quickly, so they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, well, as long as they don't reproduce, then I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to make that happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right. That'll be the next. Oh, geez, it's crazy. But Benjamin Fulford comes up with a great point of view that not that many people realize about. And usually they have one of those computer voices read from his text. So it's, that in itself is kind of freaky when you hear those computer voices dictate to you. It's not like listening to an audio book where it's a person that has a voice that's going to be reading the book. These are definitely AI.
Yeah, I hear that kind of stuff every time. Some of these videos on YouTube that come out when they want to explain something to you, they have you can tell it's an artificial voice just because of the way it's inflated. People can understand people's voices. It's just inherent in the way we're wired. But you can tell this is something that was done on a computer. I mean, it's really, really bad too. And it's like, why am I listening to somebody or somebody who made a video use a computer voice to actually trying to explain to me what's going on, because I don't want to listen to it. It's not. It's just like bland. You just don't want to hear it anymore from like the computer.
And I welcome.
Well, I guess they wanted us off, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, accidentally. I somehow dropped you guys here by accident. I think I got most of you back. I was trying to get John
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back.
We got Wendy and Bob back. We got Nick. I think, do we have the station? We got the station. I'll give John another try here. Go ahead, guys. Sorry about that.
But
no problem.
Off.
Love you, Rich.
Speaking of Rich said something prior to the broadcast that was
our producer Richard Kane, wonderful man.
Yeah, Richard.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I wish
go ahead.
Richard, what did you say before the show?
You put into words about the nightmare of what's going on. I don't know how you described it, but it really hit home to me.
I don't know. I can't remember.
You were explaining the state, the negative state of what's going on, and you said it's like a nightmare or something like that. The words you used were really just went right to my heart.
I wish I could remember. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you were really
sound
good.
like a philosopher of some kind.
Well, yeah, at that point you were. We were just. It's just I cannot believe the world we're living in, and the imbeciles on the left, and that guy Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff has always
Adam Schiff and a lot of these people are in trouble because of the dossiers now and all the documents that are coming out. They're in trouble. They're going to be prosecuted. They're going to jail.
But here's the thing with Adam Schiff.
Mueller, they're all going to jail.
Here's the thing with Adam Schiff, though. Adam Schiff has always been a tool, and when I was in the Republican Party back in California, I figured this out a long time before his constituents did, when he kept lying to them for votes about we're going to make sure that the Armenian genocide gets recognized by the United States. We don't have to make a holiday out of it, but it's going to be recognized by the United States, knowing full well that it never will because we're still allied with Turkey for some reason. And his constituents consistently kept buying it up. And so I just kept looking at the guy and said, man, every time I hear this guy speak, I know he's lying his ass off because he knows that he's never going to be able to do what he keeps claiming he's going to be able to do. So he's just another typical politician. I don't know why anybody would believe anything from that guy. I mean, he's a complete mental patient. You can see that in his eyes already. I mean, Christ, he looks like a clean-cut Charlie Manson every time he speaks. And
what would have happened if it was Donald Trump Jr.'s chauffeur who just happened to be a Chinese spy for 20 years?
Oh, they would have put Trump Jr. over the coals.
Leave a message. Thank you.
They would have executed him already.
Well, they would have used him. No, they would have used him to go after Donald Trump. But was it?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, damn it!
You're probably getting a call from John. I'm sure. I'm trying to call him.
You think?
I keep on getting his answering machine. So tell him I keep on getting his answering machine.
No problem.
Oh boy, what a world! But the November elections are real important, and
very important.
And I don't know.
You need to try to vote for the best candidate, not a party, but vote for the best candidate who's going to do something in your community. Is going to do something for you because so many of them are not doing that. But definitely want to keep the communist and the New World Order out.
Now, do we know isn't it October 3rd? Is that the new date for the Big Brother message, the emergency broadcast system that Trump is going to, talk about? I wish he had the guts to go. And remember, vote Republican. I know that won't go over too good, but in my book it would. He's supposed to make some kind of statement over October 3rd. Over everybody's internet, phones, TVs, radios. So we'll see what happens with that. Has anybody done any research into that?
Well,
Let me just see. Let me see. That would be the greatest thing if he goes. And remember, vote Republican. He wouldn't have the nerve to do that.
Okay.
That would be. Let me see. When is that going to be?
I think it's in November. Is it November?
No. When is Trump?
For the what?
Emergency.
I'm sorry.
The emergency.
For the midterm elections, isn't it in November, Nick?
No, I'm not talking about
Yeah, the
that.
midterms are like the first
Please leave a
Tuesday in
message. Thank you so
after the first Monday in November. That's when they have them.
Yeah, first Monday in November.
No, first Tuesday after the first Monday.
Right. Okay, first Tuesday.
That's how it's worded. That's how the elections are in November. It's always the first Tuesday after the first Monday. I don't know why they worded it that way. They just do.
Donald Trump's emergency alert test hits U.S. smartphones on October 3rd. So it's only going to be on smartphones. And the only reason why it was delayed was because of the hurricane. But it's going to go on I thought it shouldn't go on every radio station and TV station too. He's testing out the the emergency broadcast system. Emergency alert system.
I thought a lot of that was already on the cell phones and all of that.
Yeah, but now I'm going to test it out.
Whatever. I don't know because I don't own a cell phone, so I guess I'm not going to get it. So if there's if there's an actual emergency, I guess I'm shit out of luck.
Well, do you have one of those? You have like a ham radio or a radio?
I think it's only going to go on cell phones. I think it's only they're testing the cell phones. Because I remember those. Every month they used to have that. I think I thought it was the last Friday of every month. And they had the air raid sirens, and then the teachers would panic and go, drop under your desk. That'll save you from an atomic bomb. Come on, kids. Get your ass under that desk or I'll kick it.
Oh, my God.
We used to have drop drills. But we also said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, too.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about indoctrination.
Well, seeing the Pledge, listen, it means many things, but unfortunately, it's been manipulated like everything else, so you can't...
Yeah, and then you go to your history class, and they tell you a bunch of lies.
Well, a lot of it hasn't been, completely true.
Hello?
A lot of it hasn't been completely true?
Well,
if you go back and read some of those old history books, I mean some really old ones, there is stuff in there that you have never even heard of. And the new history books, I've actually looked at a couple of them. They are so completely written. Number one,
you can't understand them.
Huh?
The new ones you can't understand. There's stuff in the old history books. Yes, there is. There's stuff in the old encyclopedias. Oh, yes, there is. Yeah.
But there's also all that stuff is the hit kind of history that they don't want these new generations to know anything about. So they
right.
They never teach it. And then some of the new stuff that I actually read as being presented as a textbook in the schools, it was so completely biased towards the left wing and the communist agenda. It was like beyond stupid. I mean, George Washington barely gets a paragraph. Thomas Jefferson was nothing more than a slave owner, which, by the way, if you go back and read an actual history book, you'll find out that Thomas Jefferson did not have any choice in the matter of whether or not he wanted to own slaves. he would have gotten rid of him if he could, but because of the way that the inheritance property laws worked in the colonies at the time, which he changed later on, but he was bound to have those slaves because of the amount of debt that was owned on the property that he inherited. You never hear about that, but
well,
damn,
also too, Thomas Jefferson also
get 16 pages on Barack Obama's inauguration and 64 pages on Bill Clinton's presidency about what a great president he was and what all this great stuff he did for our country. You know, George Washington turned down being a king. Okay, it doesn't get any better than that. Even King George III turned around and said, if he turned down that job, he's going to be the greatest person on the face of the planet.
We'll be right back with the Granada Forum radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host Nick Pearson and my producer Richard Kane and good old cousin Bob. Hold on, we'll be right back. Hold on, don't go anywhere.
All right, see you.
Welcome back to the Granada Forum radio program, ladies and gentlemen. And this is freedomslips.com. And we're also revolution.radio. That's revolution.radio. If you'd like to leave a equivalent to a cup of coffee, please check out the homepage, keep the paid programming on the air. If you'd like to make a donation of $100, please check out Nighthawk's $3,500 seeds on how to grow, plant, and everything under the sun. So we thank you for that one, too, if you can do that. Okay, we'll be back and with our co-host Nick Pearson and our wonderful producer Richard Kane, cousin Bob. We did promise John a little time, so John, are you there?
Yes, I am. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm totally able to hear you.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm serious because I put on the cell phone and I'm not too familiar with whether it's on or off or the speaker. So
it's working.
But apparently you were able to hear
I can totally hear for you.
Yeah,
you're fine.
good.
We can hear for you.
Yeah.
So, John, what do you want to tell the listening audience?
Well, there are several announcements that should be made immediately because they're going to affect us either directly or indirectly. The most important thing in the United States at the moment, I believe, is the situation related to the nomination of Judge Brett M. Kavanaugh as a justice on the Supreme Court. He appears to have very impressive records, and for this reason, initially, I think that his judicial colleagues were strong supporters of him. And I checked with an esteemed friend of mine who happens to be a Democrat in Chicago, who worked with him during the impeachment hearings for President William Jefferson Clinton several years ago. And he was very impressed with some of his writings preparing for the impeachment of the president. However, in doing further research, independent research on my own, I discovered that there is a very dark side to Judge Kavanaugh, and this needs to be brought to the attention of the American people, because if he should become the next justice on the Supreme Court, in all probability, your freedoms will be lessened as we find ourselves becoming more involved in militaristic situations, more wars, more benefits for large multinational corporations, corporate benefits at the expense of the American people. Now, during the administration of George W. Bush, that's George Jr., he was appointed to be President Bush's staff secretary. In reality, he became George W. Bush's private tutor and closest confidant. He became very active in the White House, and on every trip that the president took on Air Force One, he went along, and not only did he go along with the president, but he stood right beside him every time the president met with any foreign dignitary or world leader. And he probably served as a conduit between Dr. Condoleezza Rice, who was earlier National Security Advisor and later U.S. Secretary of State during the administration of George W. Bush. And during that time period, from 1991 until actually before the presidency of George W. Bush, until January 15th of 2001, she was a member on the board of directors for Chevron. And during that time period, Chevron had a $10 billion investment in Kazakhstan, which borders on the Caspian Sea and is just above the Caspian Aral Basin with oil and gas reserves that are abundant. But the only problem with these reserves from the corporate perspective was that Central Asia is landlocked. By that, we mean it does not have any access to any of the major oceans or seas of the world, which makes it difficult for any type of cheap transportation except for pipelines, which are even cheaper if they can be built through various nations. And so there was a proposal for a pipeline to be built from Kazakhstan through Turkmenistan, going south through western Afghanistan into Pakistan at a port on the Indian Ocean. I'm sorry, on the Arabian Sea, which flows into the Indian Ocean to markets overseas, both in Europe and Asia. And so negotiations were carried out during that time period, during the 1990s until about the turn of the millennium, with the Taliban. However, the Taliban finally decided not to continue with negotiations, and keep in mind that the Taliban controlled most of Afghanistan during that time period. And so it was decided that something needed to be done. Keep in mind, just Chevron alone had invested $10 billion. That's with a capital B. And other large multinational corporations had made similar investments. Unless they were able to build a pipeline leading to markets either in Asia or Europe or both, they were going to lose heavily. And so, as a result, Dr. Condoleezza Rice, who was a member of the board of directors on Chevron, had worked out a plan, and as soon as she became National Security Advisor on January 15th of 2001, she ordered and arranged for U.S. troops to be deployed to all of the Central Asian nations that bordered along the northern Afghan border. And meanwhile, a means had to be found whereby there would be an incident which would justify going into Afghanistan. Now, very few people are aware of this, but Vladimir Putin had arranged, just before he became president, to bomb several apartment buildings in many large Russian cities. And so he worked closely with the Bush administration. Moscow and Washington worked very closely together, and finally they came up with the idea of 9/11, which all of you already know was an inside job of the Bush administration, the second Bush administration. You know of Marvin Bush, who was in charge of the facilities at the World Trade Center in New York. So that's not new to you. But in October of 2001, shortly after 9/11, U.S. and Russian armed forces invaded Afghanistan, along with various factions of the armies of Central Asia. And now we are involved in the longest war. Now, who were the people that worked closely with Dr. Condoleezza Rice during this time period? Well, one of those persons was Brett M. Kavanaugh. Another one was Stephen E. Biegun, B-I-E-G-U-N, and of course there was the UN ambassador John R. Bolton. And these three individuals worked very closely with Dr. Rice, who had worked out the deals with Vladimir Putin and the president of Kazakhstan to carry out this whole operation. Now, can you imagine what the Afghans felt like during this time period, considering the fact that just a little more than 10 years earlier, the Afghan war with the former Soviet Union had ended, which killed over 1 million Afghans and wounded and injured and practically destroyed all of the infrastructure, including the irrigation project along the Helmand Valley in Helmand province, which could have provided 40% of all of the food for that nation. But instead, all of those dams were destroyed, never rebuilt, and that whole region of Helmand province was replaced with dry farming, and unfortunately, not only was the Taliban brought in from madrasas in Pakistan and India, but Pakistani drug lords came into Helmand province primarily and convinced the Afghan farmers to grow the opium poppy. And now, of course, Afghanistan grows more opium than any region of the world, surpassing the Golden Triangle of Southeast Asia, which included Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos. I used to call it the BLT Triangle, Burma, Laos, and Thailand. But it leads. And America is hurting, Russia is hurting, Europe is hurting because of the drug trade. Now, prior to the first invasion of the former Soviet Union,
one thing, John, where are we going with this? Where's the bottom line on this?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's get back to Kavanaugh. He served primarily as Dr. Condoleezza Rice's conduit directly to the president. He fed him with all of the information so that all of these actions could be taken on behalf of corporate interests at the expense of the American people and the Afghan people, and later, of course, the people in Iraq. And if further investigations were to occur, in all probability, these people that I've mentioned would be convicted of war crimes. But now, this particular judge, Brett Kavanaugh, is being considered to be a justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. And to me, this is a very serious situation. I've been hearing, all this petty talk about the stupid allegations made by the Democrats regarding this one woman who has a PhD but apparently cannot communicate very effectively on an allegation that happened when she was either in junior high school.
Well, it happened when she was 15 years old, but she can't remember the year.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the Democrats are going after Kavanaugh for the wrong reasons, and
they're going after Kavanaugh. They're going after Kavanaugh out of the same playbook that they've been using for years. They used it against Clarence Thomas. They've used it against a whole bunch of other people, and because of the Pound Me Too movement, which I was talking about earlier, that came out of Agenda 21. It's the only playbook that they have left when nothing else works. So of course, that's what they're going to use, because they think the American people are too stupid to figure anything else out. They don't want to. They don't want to expose themselves to the same crap that was going on in the Middle East that they're just as responsible for as the Republican Party is. So they gotta spin it around and make it about something else.
Right. But unfortunately, the bottom line is these nice white boys whom President Trump is bringing into his administration at the behest of the Office of Presidential Personnel at the White House, which is one aspect that's very corrupt due to the civil servants who run it. And unfortunately, until Trump becomes aware of the background of these individuals, just as I hope Alex Jones eventually becomes aware of this, we're going to find the administration of Donald Trump to become more infiltrated and ineffective at a time when America is still hoping to have one decent person in office. And I believe that he is basically a decent person. Yes.
Yeah, I think people in America have got to realize this, is that we're not going to get a decent person in office. Okay, those days that's a pipe dream from a long time ago.
Well, I think
the last decent person in office was probably Calvin Coolidge, but after Woodrow Wilson, forget it.
Well, I don't. I have some reservations about Woodrow Wilson, to be quite honest.
No, I'm not saying Woodrow Wilson was a decent guy. He was the worst president we ever had. He sold us out to the Federal Reserve System and the banking cartels. I say, including him and everybody after him, forget it. John F. Kennedy, maybe I'm a little on the fence about it, but I think he was an actually pretty decent guy.
Yes, he was. I can say this due to my connections that I had with JFK as a private citizen when he was in office. In spite of his vices, he basically did care about the American people. He tried to do the right thing, and he was receptive to outside suggestions.
Well, he did some things that I thought were pretty right. I mean, and you got to remember, he was not a perfect guy either, almost in the same way that Trump was. In regards to what the allegations against Trump and a lot of the people are now, because it's become fashionable. But you got to remember things about JFK. Number one, he did challenge the Federal Reserve System. He did go after organized crime, which was tied in with the CIA. So he challenged a lot of people on a lot of different levels. And of course, you drive in an open top car around Dallas without when your security all bails out, you got a bullet that can turn around 180 degrees in the air in flight. It makes for a bad situation.
Yeah, there were multiple
I do
shootings.
think Trump's an okay guy.
Go ahead.
I don't think Trump is a bad guy. I just think he's still bowing down to some of the wrong things, especially when it comes to foreign policy.
He's surrounded by the deep state, but
yeah,
Jeff Sessions, these documents are coming out. They need to start making arrests. They need to go after the people that were involved in all the dossier, everything.
Except Sessions is completely useless.
That includes All of them.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Did you guys hear today about Rosenstein?
Jeff Sessions is completely useless. When a guy gets into a job as Attorney General, and his first act as Attorney General, well, virtually his first act as Attorney General is, I'm recusing myself.
Yeah.
You know, you got a problem. He ought to have been fired that day, and they should have put somebody else in there.
Yeah. By the way, very closely related. Did you guys hear today what was revealed about Rosenstein? About the wiretapping or the secret recording that he was supposed to do on President Trump. Now this guy should be fired. He should be arrested too.
Of course he should be arrested in front of everybody, in front of his office, and they got to go down there and arrest him right now.
Yeah, but they won't.
And not just Rosenstein. Comey, you're talking all the entire part of some of the FBI, the upper nonchalant staff. They all got to be arrested.
Yeah, there are so many people involved in everything that's been going on, and nobody is going to jail. This is what the problem with the administration is, and not Donald Trump. And I guess he's trying to do what he can. He's doing economically, he's doing fantastic, I think. But even though our national debt's still going up, but he is so. He didn't jump. He didn't wade into the swamp saying I'm going to drain it. He jumped in feet first, right into the middle, and is completely surrounded by it.
And the alligators are ready to fight.
I don't think he was ready for the amount of resistance that he was going to get. I mean, even those James O'Keefe videos that are coming out and are still coming out, they got people in there who are bragging about slowing everything down, who are, and of course, I can't get fired because I'm a federal employee.
Yeah, but, this is something that has to end.
Yeah, and I take my hat off to O'Keefe and Project Veritas for getting all that stuff out there, because they do infiltration that I don't even know that I'd be able to do with these people on any level. And yet they get it, and they get it out there on the air, and they're showing that it's going on. And this last video that just came out where the guy bragged about we're in here to destroy capitalism. Well, guess what? America's a capitalist society. The communists have been fundamentally trying to transform it over. It hasn't quite taken root just yet, but its advances as we've moved along in society, and you can tell that just by the attitudes of people who are coming out of college, who are in college, who are coming out of high school. The education system is a complete joke. We've had Dr. Duke Pesta, who has been on our show, and I want to get him on again. I just heard him on the radio on my drive back out here to Wisconsin, and he came up with some new stuff that I hadn't heard him say before that I'd like to talk to him about. And he's basically saying, this is the agenda. And Khrushchev, back in the 60s, I believe it was, Khrushchev banging his shoe on his desk at the UN saying, we are going to infiltrate your schools. They've done it.
No, they did it.
They've already done it. The Rockefellers bought the education system in America with the Department of Education, and look what they've turned it into.
They ruined it. Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's so true. I would urge people to contact their senators and senators in other states too, as I've been doing, and let them know the background, the real background of Judge Kavanaugh, because you don't want to have any more fifth columns than you have already.
But the deep state is there. That's the whole thing. They're all, whether Republican or Democrat. The 9/11 gang is the deep state.
Yeah.
So who are you going against? The Democrat? It's terrible. We're in a bad situation.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of?
He's not going to make.
Well, I'm going to say, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of an old Simpsons episode where two aliens took over the bodies. I think it was like Bill Clinton and Bob Dole or something.
This is the cartoon.
Yeah. You know, The Simpsons. It's been on for forever. You know, Homer, Dole, and all of that. But you know, these two aliens, they took over the. This is when Bob Dole was running against whoever, and and the other one was Bill Clinton, I guess. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen it. So they get out there, and everybody's trying to figure out who to vote for, and it was revealed that they're both aliens. One's a Republican alien, and one's a Democrat alien, but they're both got the same agenda. And somebody said, well, maybe we should vote for a third party. And they're like, oh, yeah, go out there and waste your vote. And they're like, oh, yeah. So they voted for one of them. So one of the aliens won, and they enslaved all the people. And it was just like, this is what we're looking at with the deep state. It's like, it doesn't matter, to hell with the party. Stop looking at everything along as a party issue. It's not a party issue. Look at the
individual. You have to look at the individual.
Both parties are bought and paid for. I've seen that firsthand, and Wendy has too. We've seen what both parties will do when they put their heads together. They'll get rid of anybody that'll come in and try to disrupt anything.
You got that right. Yeah, that's so true.
Republican or Democrat means absolutely nothing, and I think our forefathers warned us about party affiliations anyway, because parties can be infiltrated by people who have nothing but your worst intentions in mind. And what we're seeing with the dominance of the Republicans and the Democrats is they haven't been doing anything good for the United States for like over 100 years now.
That's so true. So a lot of people forget that there were earlier political parties, like the Whig Party, for example, and the.
Well, Teddy Roosevelt ran on. He almost won, but then the New World Order spent too much money. He couldn't quite get it. He couldn't get a Republican nominee, and had he gotten one of the major parties, Democrat, Republican, Teddy Roosevelt would have won again. He ran on the Whig Party, and he barely lost.
No, he was a member of the Bull Moose Party.
Yeah, the Bull Moose. Yeah, it was the Bull Moose Party.
Okay, yeah. And he almost won, but the American people have been kind of they've been hammered into the thing. But look at the unions. The unions are so corrupt. It's not that union just to be in long-term union is bad, but the people who run the union spend the money on other things that the members don't understand and don't have a choice about.
Well, yeah, they donate the union dues to candidates that the union members may not even support.
Right. And this is where you're right.
And you still got to remember what are unions too. You got to read the Communist Manifesto and some of the planks of the Communist Manifesto. Yeah. Unions are mentioned right in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, regarding teachers' unions, I know there's a lot of concern about them, but the one thing that is so much ignored are the administrators. I don't think one person in a million in the United States of America is aware of the fact that practically every school district administrator is selected by a very elite committee of Marxists, and if they obtain the approval of these Marxists who are on these review boards, they become the superintendent of a school district. Otherwise, they are rejected. And unfortunately, the American people are so naive, they think that the person that they can trust the most in every school district is the school superintendent, when in reality it's just the opposite.
Well, yeah, but you also you can't blame people for just being naive, because you have to be able to see the results of what the education system is doing on the levels of the districts. When with the superintendent and all that, they're implementing Marxism and they're implementing the socialistic ideals. I mean, you can see that with every time they make a decision on something. You're not allowed to do this. You can say this. You're not allowed to think that, but you're supposed to think this. And we're going to implement Common Core, and we're going to do all this other crap.
Right.
And even though some of that has now been taken out of the hands of the state and the local districts anyway, they were doing that stuff early on.
Well, I also think, Dick, too, is that, like you said, when someone asks the question about Shakespeare, it's about a white man beating up a white woman, they're like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
On which issue?
Don't you remember you guys were speaking about Common Core, about the guy, and he mentioned
yeah.
So you want to mention that?
When we were talking about the Shakespeare issue, when Dr. Duke Pesta was questioning some people in his class. This is one I heard him talking about on Glenn Beck's radio show that I heard on my way across country. And what is this Shakespeare play about? Well, it's about the oppression of women against white men from white men. It's like, have you read it? No. Okay. Well, what's this one about? Well, it's about the oppression of women at the hands of white men. Have you read it? No. And so on and so on and so on, because they've been so indoctrinated to think that way.
Right. It's this thing, and it's this thing not to think logically. It's just that everybody's a racist. This has something to do with racism. You're oppressing me. This is why I can't learn math, because I've been oppressed. I can't learn English because I've been oppressed. I can't read because I've been oppressed. It's outrageous.
Everything is because you are a victim.
Yeah, the transhumanism that they've used and the victimization is, I agree.
So, that's supposed to give you some kind of an out for why you can't do anything and why now society has to take care of you. Well, right there becomes the government dependency. You are now a dependent on the government for anything. And there's an old saying that, a government big enough to give you everything is a government big enough to take everything you have.
Well, that's what they've been doing all along, but the deep state about the Comey, all these guys that are involved in the dossiers, all the people involved in the spying, in trying to take down the president. This is treason. This is outrageous, and this has been going on before he even got into office, when he was still running for office. And it just really shows you that the coup happened, and these guys got caught, and now they got to go down.
And remember, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading that list of all these people that were put in positions in the government.
Yeah, that was who put that out? Was that Q?
I don't remember who put it out.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head, but I do remember. I remember reading in all the names and all the positions and all the government positions,
right?
Bureaucracies that they got put in, the IRS and so on and so on. And it's like they were so convinced that Hillary Clinton was going to win that they really didn't care about, putting these people into those positions, and they thought they were going to get covered. They thought everything was covered. Trump won.
But Trump won. Of a sudden,
everything was like, wait a minute, something just changed, and what happened?
Yes.
So, and they've been fighting him, and both Republicans and Democrats have been fighting him ever since.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, you take a look at some of these Republicans, like Judge Kavanaugh and Stephen Biden and John Bolton. These are not very nice people. If you really probe into their backgrounds.
Bolton should never have been reappointed to any position whatsoever.
No,
he was absolutely the wrong choice for anything. He was a warmonger under Bush. Was it Bush Sr.?
Yeah.
He started with Bush Sr., and then he was the UN ambassador during Bush Jr.
Yeah, he was. He
started during the Clinton administration as a UN ambassador. It didn't start with George Jr. It started with Clinton.
Yeah, well, either way it goes, we've had all these positions, different positions filled with war hawks and all these other people who just in order to keep people distracted, is like, let's go to war with another country. Smedley Butler wrote about that years ago.
Yes.
The real reasons we were actually going to war, which had nothing to do with the interest of the United States, and now it's become, okay, we want their resources. I mean, it's still about the resources of another country, but at the same time, it also becomes about we need to distract the people in America from paying attention to what we're actually doing. We've been at war in the Middle East for 17 years, 16 years.
It's got to end. Longest forever.
At what point do we finally say, "Hey, guess what? We won. Can we just go home now?"
Right.
And remember, one of the key players behind us getting in that war was none other than Judge Brett Kavanaugh, along with Condoleezza Rice, Stephen Biden, and, of course, John Bolton. All these nice white boys.
They were all controlled people anyway, which is why they were in the positions that they were. I mean, the Bush family has a history going way back about doing a lot of crooked stuff. I mean, was it Prescott Bush? He was a big fan of Adolf Hitler's.
Yeah.
Guys.
And because of that, none of his family members were ever to run for public office.
Yeah. So, and then you also had, people like FDR in the White House who sold us. And that's the funny thing, too. Everybody back in the 40s, and the 50s was wondering, how did the Russians get our atomic bomb technology? It's like, well, because we gave it to them.
All right.
How did North Korea get nuclear weapons technology that they're building the missiles now? It's because, Bill Clinton gave it to them.
That's right. And also Truman. And also, you have to mention Truman that there should not be a North or South Korea, just be like Korea. But it was Truman who got MacArthur out of there, didn't let King Shai-Kek help them, so that they could make sure that Korea was never divided.
Are you kidding me? MacArthur was about to win that war.
Of course he was.
Yes.
He had that. He was about to have
control of the entire Korean Peninsula.
Down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But somebody came in and whispered something into
New World
Truman's
Order,
ear.
man. That was just horrible. Yeah.
Okay.
Said,
let me explain this very quickly about what happened during that time period. There was a company known as Anglo-Iranian. An Anglo-Iranian oil company provided the Communist Chinese, the PLA, and the North Korean armies with all of its petroleum products. General MacArthur got wind of it and noticed that all of their tank farms and fuel depots were just north of the Yalu River, and he wanted to bomb those.
Of course.
But that British company turned to the British Foreign Service, and the British Foreign Service in turn put pressure on Secretary of State Dean Acheson, and in turn President Truman, to fire MacArthur, because that would have destroyed millions of pounds sterling or U.S. dollars worth of petroleum that they were profiting from that war. And as a result, MacArthur was fired. And when he was fired, he was replaced by a CFR member, General Matthew Ridgway, who was there for a short period of time before being reassigned to NATO. But it was a tragic situation when MacArthur was fired. He was a genius. He might have been old, but he was very smart.
A very short time after we finally bailed out of Korea, they had the whole situation where guess who took over China?
Right.
Yeah, Mao Zedong took over China.
Yep. Actually, Mao took control of China before the Korean War. I just want to put things in there.
Yeah, but he officially, I mean, that the Emperor of China was still there until 1955.
No. Mao had control of China in 1949, and Chiang Kai-shek, or Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek, had to flee to Formosa, which is now called Taiwan.
That's right. And the Taiwanese will fight to the death. They're not giving. They're not going. They don't want to be part of China.
Well, no, because nowadays they'll get shot if they try to run.
Right, but the Chinese want them. You know, they want that.
Right.
They put pressure on it all the time. You know, a couple of things, guys, you need to mention.
It was 45. 45. I was thinking of not 40, not 55.
Yeah, Wendy, you're right. There were some other things that I also need to mention. For example,
well, I need to say this, John. Okay,
go ahead,
John.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
In Western China right now, an area that we used to call Xinjiang, which is now called Xinjiang, over 1 million Uyghurs. Now, these are Muslim Chinese in Western China, and they're all in a prison camp. Imagine 1 million people all in a secret prison camp, and I don't think we have discovered exactly where they are being hidden. But there's tremendous repression and suppression being placed on these people.
Yeah,
and this is why President Trump is increasing the tariffs on China. Something to his credit on the situation. Another situation that needs to be addressed is Syria. There's a place called Idlib, I-D-L-I-B, in Idlib province in northern Syria, right next to Latakia province, where the Russian Air Force bases are located and naval bases. And the Russian Air Force, the Syrian Air Force, and the Iranian Air Force, all deployed currently within Syria, are planning to bomb that area, which could kill as many as 3 million people. 3 million people, which is more than all of the casualties that occurred already in the war in Syria.
And here's what I want to know.
Go ahead.
Okay, what exactly is it that the Assad regime has done to the United States on any level?
Well, it hasn't done anything, to the best of my knowledge.
Exactly.
To the United States. And the same was true earlier with Saddam Hussein in the neighboring Iraq to the east.
And Libya, when the last time we went after him, he was pretty quiet after we blew him up during the Reagan administration.
Yes. Now the reason
overall, what has the Assad regime done to the United States that we have to feel the need to go in there with our forces and fight somebody else's war again?
Well,
there's no reason. There is no reason for us to be there.
Well, let me just say this. I think the Trump administration is making a big mistake by saying that if chemical weapons should be used again by the regime of Assad in Syria, that we will take serious action against.
Yeah, he just got baited.
However, what they fail to mention are the bombs that are going to kill these 3 million people.
Right.
That to me is genocide. That's a very serious situation.
If we don't bomb them, then somebody will use chemical weapons on them. And we can't allow that.
Well, they're not going to use chemical weapons, so we're just going to stand by basically and let these 3 million people be killed. Now,
the point is, it's not our fight. I mean, there used to be a time in the United States with our government that we did not go and fight somebody, or we did not go invade another country, unless it had a direct effect on our interests or somebody attacked the United States ourselves. It worked out. It was actually a pretty good policy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but sometimes other countries really got to fend for themselves, and if they can't, and what are our allies over there that for some reason that we should go in there for humanitarian reasons? The thing about us doing things for humanitarian reasons is the problem with it is that we never leave once we're there. Okay, we are always making this bigger empire for the United States that's costing us more money than we can afford, but that's fine. The military-industrial complex doesn't mind spending it, but it's breaking the backs of everybody in the United States. We cannot sustain $21 trillion in debt, which if you look at in reality is probably over 100.
Obama had spent $29 trillion. He took $29 trillion. That's not counting black budget. That's $29 trillion.
The reality of it, from what we're told is a $21 trillion debt, almost, is we're probably somewhere between $50 and $100 trillion in debt. We can't sustain our country that way. It's going to collapse the same way the Soviet Union did. And who the hell are we going to help then?
Yes. By the way, speaking of trillions of dollars, the United States has, not the United States, but oil companies and multinational corporations like Chevron have now invested up to about $16 trillion in Central Asia. $16 trillion. So guess what's going to happen if things don't go according to clockwork with the multinational corporations?
Well, they're going to send us in there to fix it. The government's
going to bail them out like they did under the last Bush administration with people like Brett Kavanaugh assisting. These are the real war crimes, as you've been pointing out so well, Nick.
Again, this is what years ago Smedley Butler warned about. He said we were not going. He spent years convincing himself he was doing the right thing, and he finally woke up and he said, I was not going in and fighting for the rights of the United States citizens. I was going in and fighting for United Fruit Company or United Steel or whatever big corporation wanted the
banana republics,
whatever they wanted the resources from that company. And if you read the book called Diary of an Economic Hitman and watch some of the videos involved in it, you'll understand exactly how this works. And it works the same way every single time. And eventually what it winds up being is that there's somebody that wants the resources, America becomes the muscle, and they propagandize like what they're doing with Syria right now. They propagandize them guys to be the worst enemy that we've ever had to face. And we have to go in there and do something before they kill all these people. So what do? We go in there and we kill all those people.
Well, you know what?
I'm not against our military by any stretch of the imagination. I do believe in a strong national defense. And I think our military guys are they do a tough job. I know for a fact. I've done it.
Yes,
but we can't just keep going and invading every country in the planet just because some globalist asshole with $1 gazillion wants the resources under that country. It's time we turned around and just said, hell no, we're not fighting for that crap anymore.
Right.
I think wait, John. No, John. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Jesus. I'm sorry, but I think some of the things you're saying, I mean, I totally agree with, but some of the stuff that we need to say to this to some people listening out there, there's a movie that came out in the 70s with Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek called Missing. You should go watch it and go rent it. It's about how they went into Chile, unfortunately, and CIA and New World Order. And that's a movie that you need to watch. The other movie would be Kill the Messenger.
Great movie.
With I can't think of the guy's name, but he probably won the Academy Award. Jeremy Renner. Definitely Kill the Messenger. You have to see that at least once or twice. All these movies you got to see at least 2 or 3 times because there's so much stuff going in on it. To be honest, So Kill the Messenger with Jeremy Renner.
That was the one about Chile was when the United States went in and overthrew the government there, right?
That's correct, and they stuck that poor kid who was just a reporter, killed him and put him in a wall, and then they held the bodies so they couldn't do a proper autopsy. But the thing about this is, and then they lied about it. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And but the other movie besides Kill the Messenger with Jeremy Renner is the Tom Cruise movie. It's pretty good because it shows enough to get people going about Barry Seal and about how the cocaine got shipped into Armenia, Arkansas. I recommend it. You can go rent it and watch it. It's with Tom Cruise, and it's called American and Me.
American Made.
American Made, that's it. Yeah, American Made. And it's important if you watch some of these movies that they're based on true stories, and you'll be able to put a lot of the dots together that we've been talking about.
The only problem I had with the Tom Cruise movie, there was a little bit more of a spin on it than there should have been, I think. But it did get the point across. But it got the point across. I think I think in the movie they actually tried to separate the CIA's involvement with the actual drug running.
Listen to me. When the guy in the movie, and Tom Cruise is having lunch with him or breakfast, he goes, "So your name is Schaefer? You got kids?" And the guy could never answer Tom Cruise. And he's a total CIA guy. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's hysterical. And that he works for the CIA. The CIA is using him, and it's unbelievable. And the other movie I also recommend is Charlie's Wilson War, because that's a good one too.
Yeah, that one was a little bit.
I think they'll get enough.
I think there was a lot more. I think there was a lot more involved in what was going on in Afghanistan with us at the time than what Charlie Wilson's War was actually put out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good movie. I liked watching the movie. I enjoyed it and everything. But from a different, when you come at it from a different point of view, when you start to learn what really happens with some of this stuff, you just kind of, you got to really sit down and go, yeah.
But
you
these
really
movies will make a connection.
Does anybody remember?
But it was a good movie.
Go ahead.
I like.
Listen, does anybody remember 1980 when Moscow they hosted the Olympics and the good old Uncle Sam USA? What did we boycott it? Why did we boycott? Why did we boycott? Because Russia was in Afghanistan. I guess we got jealous.
Well, yeah, that was at the beginning of it too.
Yeah, that's part of Charlie Wilson War.
I mean, because I was in the military in the 80s, and we had the information that we were getting was what the Afghanis Mujahideen was fighting the Soviets, and they were winning. We never got an explanation how these guys were beating the Soviet army, but they were winning. And it would have taken absolutely nothing to spark off if they found out that we were the ones who were arming them with weapons and money.
That's right.
Then,
that's correct.
I mean, I'm sitting on the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There's the whole ship goes on alert because there's a Soviet submarine fleet sitting underneath us. And if that whole thing had sparked off at the time, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Right. But during that same time period, Nick, you have to realize that the Soviet Union was in the process of deploying nuclear weapons to Central America to be fired and become the second missile crisis.
Well, they were trying to, but I mean, they were. This is at a point where everybody was trying to play chess with their own governments, and the globalists were just pulling the puppet strings of everybody at the same time.
Right.
So now, I mean, I don't think the globalists were ever going to let it get to the point where we were actually going to fry each other. And the only reason I really think that was because I remember there was a conversation or an interview that happened way back when with like Nathan Rothschild's wife. I mean, this is before the current crop of Rothschilds that are out now, and somebody asked her about, do you feel like they're scared that there might be a war happening over there? And she said, no, absolutely not, because my kids won't allow it.
If I may get back to Syria for just a moment, I mentioned Idlib earlier. There's one factor that I failed to mention, and that is Turkey. The Turkish army has worked out defenses in every single town and hamlet in Idlib province, and so there is going to be a lot of repercussions that would occur if the Russian Air Force does commence its aerial bombings of that area. So we're sitting on a cake of explosives ready to go off any moment, and that's why I need to mention it. Turkey, of course, is a member still of NATO. It failed in its negotiations with Damascus and Tehran, which means that Iran and Syria are no longer cooperating with Turkey, and in all probability, unless something is done very soon, all hell will break loose there. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And ironically, Turkey does have the license for the Stinger surface-to-air missile. They can manufacture that weapon if they so choose at this time.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I mean, they've had technology like that for a long time, and if they didn't, it's going to get into their hands eventually by one way or another. I'm surprised that the Ethiopians and the Somalians don't have that kind of technology when they're going to take down ships when they go out on their pirate raids at this point, because somebody decided to slip them the information and the ability to build all that stuff.
Or steal it.
Yeah, well, not even steal it, because I've really become very skeptical about people stealing technology. I have a feeling if we really wanted to keep everything secure,
or stealing the actual weapon,
it would be secret. I mean, but again, like going back to World War II, the Soviet Union was handed atomic weapons technology. Go to North Korea; they were handed nuclear weapons technology. So
and
none of this stuff is secret, because somebody is always giving it to them so that they can constantly create conflict, so that the military-industrial complex always has an enemy to fight, and they can justify spending billions of dollars on weapons over and over and over, and they're hell-bent on destroying everything just to make themselves a multi-gazillionaire rich and control the entire planet.
All right, guys.
That's the bottom line of it.
Thank you, Wendy.
All right, thank you, Nick. You're welcome, John. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Rich. You're the best. We'll be back next week with Deborah Tavares. Thank you for listening to the Granada Forum radio program, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you, everybody.